your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story with Dennis Henson. This is a brand new series we hope that you will enjoy, and it's called Body of Health. Dennis, welcome, and let us start out by telling people about, I guess best way to put it is our disclaimer.
Okay. Well, Richard, thank you so much for having me on this series. I'm really excited about doing this, but I think it's very important that everyone understand that neither of us are medical doctors or have any kind of medical training. We are just people who are very interested in health and being able to get better faster, so that if you have some problem, that gives you a place to go to find things that have worked for other people that may help you, or they may not, but there'll be something worthwhile checking out.
Body of Health is going to be here every week. The website that we're going to suggest you go to for information, number one website is dennisjhenson.com, which we will have in the audio and video podcast videocast. But there's also a Facebook location, and basically it's facebook.com/groups/body of health. Once again, facebook.com/groups, that's plural, groups/body of health. We hope that you will go there to check out the information that Dennis has provided with us. And with that, we move into Body of Health series. I'm Reverend Dr. D. He is Dennis Henson. And it is always a pleasure to get together with Dennis because we are going to learn some things today. Dennis, it is great to have you with her. I consider the two of us to be both mentors as well as students. How are you?
I'm just great, Richard. Thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy these programs we do together, and I'm looking forward to the one today.
Well, I'll tell you, it's right up my alley. And I have to be honest with you, I do appreciate, the focal point sometimes that we get into that you bring to the table here, and it is always a lot of fun. We do have a fantastic life-changing program today. It's a lineup talking about something that's, well, I guess you could actually say near and dear to my heart, both metaphorically and literally, how to lower high blood sugar and basically take back control of your daily energy, your metabolism, as well as your long-term health. Dennis, before I let you jump in here, it's really funny. I have been diagnosed since July of 2020. I got rid of it for about, I'm going to say 3, maybe 4 years. And then for some reason it came back and I've been kind of struggling ever since. But here's the thing. Aside from the excessive urination at the beginning, going back to 2020, the summer, I've had great energy, great stamina. I've been feeling good. And unfortunately, that is not sufficient to allow me to say, well, I'm doing all right. There's no problem with my blood sugar, because the numbers, when I test, they don't lie. And you can't cheat them either.
That's true. Before we go too much further, though, I think it's important that we mention that neither of us have a medical degree. We're not doctors. We're just talking about things that we've learned through our own experience and through our own research. But I do believe they're valuable because the information that I'm saying here, I've shared with other people, and they've gotten really positive results from that. So having said that, I guess we're ready to jump into the program.
Absolutely. Where are we going to start with this today? I mean, there's a lot of information, and people are gathering it from all different sources, and I'm hoping maybe they're going to take to heart and consider this while checking with their primary care physician, what they can do.
Well, we're going to cover several things. First of all, how does the food you eat control your blood sugar levels? We'll go over that. And then we'll talk about a 15-minute habit that can counteract your whole day of just being setting and being sedimentary. And then lastly, how does sleep uh, have an effect on what's going to happen to you and how your blood will spike?
Mm. Well, I'll tell you what, those are some critical issues. We've talked about most of them in various areas. Millions of people struggle with, and I'm one of those, blood sugar spikes and crashes, and and often without even realizing it. It's like they think it's kind of normal. So let's start with the obvious factor, the food on our plate. Dennis, how should we uh, how should we adjust our diet to keep our blood sugar stable?
It's really important. The way you eat is important. It's if you have a system, a framework, then that can really take control of your blood sugar spikes and pretty much eliminate them altogether. So the first thing you want to do is give your body a break and give it time to to take the food that you've put in it and get back to a normal blood sugar level. And if you're eating every 5 minutes, you finish eating, you eat some dessert, and you think, well, I'd like to have a snack, and then you're just eating all day long.
Mm-hmm.
You never give your body the chance to restart. It's kind of like sometimes your computer, I don't know, sometimes your computer would just shut down and you don't know why. Sometimes it just needs to shut down and just reestablish itself. And
Mm-hmm.
your body is kind of a computer too.
Yeah.
So give it a break. Skip breakfast. One of the best things you can do for your blood sugar is intermittent fasting. If you have dinner early, let's say you eat at 6 and you're finished eating by 7:30. You don't have any snacks, you go all night long, you skip breakfast, and then you don't eat again until lunch the next day. You've given your body what, 14 hours, 14 or 15 hours, a 14 or 15-hour fast, which is really, really good for you because after the first 5 or 6 hours, it starts to reset and do things different. It starts to, if you have like belly fat, which is really, really not good for you, it
Mm-hmm.
starts to digest that belly fat. So if you want to not only help your blood sugar, but lose weight, last time I did intermittent fasting, I lost too much weight. And now I need to do it again because I can't buckle my belt. So it's really an easy thing to do. And after you get adjusted to it, after you've done it a week or so, it's not really even that hard. Um, so another thing you can do is cut out sugars and refined carbs. And every time you eat sugar, you're asking your blood to spike. And it's going to. I mean, you're giving it a signal that this is absolutely what you should do. Before I had a severe stroke in 2018, I was drinking 6 to 8 Dr. Peppers a day. Now, Dr. Peppers have more sugar than pretty much any other soft drink. And it was almost like I was pouring sugar in my body. Some of my friends came to me and said, we're concerned about how you're eating. We're afraid, it's going to affect your health. And I said, no, no, no. I have to have a Dr. Pepper just to be able to survive. And the next week I had the stroke.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So after that, I cut out Dr. Peppers and everything else. In fact, I avoid sugar like the plague.
Mm.
And I can literally smell it. If something is put in front of me that has sugar in it, I've avoided it so much and cleared it out of my body. I can smell that sugar and I can taste it. So that's probably one of the biggest things you can do. And carbs turn into sugar.
Yep.
So you need to be sure that you know what's going on there. And if you do get the sugar, we're going to cover in just a minute how you can pump that out of your system.
Well, interesting comparison. I can smell artificial sweeteners. Now, I'm not talking about plant-based and so forth that we've talked about before. I'm talking about things like what's called, they used to call it equal. Aspartame, it goes by another name.
Yeah.
I was introduced to it in 1983, 84, doing an interview with a gal, a nutritionist. And they, of course, brought in this big old box of food. All right. And I took that home to my first wife, and we went crazy with it. Right. And I even asked in the interview, I said, so this stuff's been thoroughly tested and it's perfectly safe for people to eat. No. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Well, a few years later, I was talking with a mortician. We were talking about death and dying and so forth. I said, so let me tell you, you've been in the business for X number of years. How's it changed? She says, well, I'm using a lot less embalming fluid. And it turns out that's what aspartame turns into in the body. So, going back to the smell, I can smell it and then, of course, taste it if it's in the area, that kind of thing. And I will tell you that for my wife, she got really very ill. I got into mood swings and we stopped taking it. And I thought, okay, I want to be sure that this is really what's happening because I'm, the consumption. And I went back on it for about 2 weeks, up and down, up and down. I have not touched this stuff since, can't stand it. And I tell everybody to avoid it. And the problem is a lot of people who think that, hey, I'll just drink diet soda. That'll be okay.
That's even worse.
That's actually worse because then you end up drinking more.
Yeah.
You end up drinking more.
Well, it's good to know that there's a place that you can go and find sweeteners that are healthy and actually good for you.
Oh, and where is that, Dennis?
It's called bodyofhealth.life. If you get your sweetener there, you're going to know there's no sugar involved and it's not going to affect your health negatively. And that's the reason that the site was put up, because people kept asking, well, where do I get this? Or where can I get that? I was on a podcast earlier this week, and I was telling the lady about how important the rebounder was. And she said, well, where can I find one? I said, well, I'm glad you asked because we just put it up this week.
Oh, great.
Yeah, beautiful little rebounder. It's very inexpensive. It'll do exactly what you need to do. And so, anything that you need is probably there. My sweet little secretary, Jennifer, has been working so hard going through all of my articles and all of the scripts for my radio programs and so forth. And if she finds anything mentioned in there, she goes and finds it and puts it on our website so that everybody can have access to it. And I really appreciate her, and I'm glad it's there because I order the stuff myself, or I'll just say, I need this product, and the next thing you know, it's coming in. Another thing that we can always do to help our blood sugar is by eating your fiber first. When you're doing your meal, we talk about a structure. So when you're eating, if you'll eat your fiber first, then it creates a protective lining in your digestive tract. It's like a net that slows down the glucose absorption and keeps your levels stable. That's a good thing to know. And if you choose the right kind of foods to eat, the grains and fiber-rich fruits, then that also helps. So let me mention what some of those are. Chia seeds are really, really good for you. They're rich in fiber and they have lots of positive things. I mean, if you just look it up, I think I wrote an entire article on what chia seeds can do for you. You can make kind of like a jello, a pudding out of chia seeds. You leave them in water and then you mix in something flavorful, and it makes a really good pudding. I like to mix them with Jell-O.
Mm.
I get the Jell-O that doesn't have any sugar in it, and I mix it with all kinds of things. Artichoke hearts, ground flaxseed. Now, eating flaxseed is good for you, but if you grind the flaxseed up and mix it with something like cottage cheese, it is so good for your heart and so good for your blood sugar. It's one of the very best things. In fact, there's one doctor that wrote an entire system about using ground flax seeds, cranberries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. And I love almonds. I put almonds in everything, in my salads and my dessert, raw almonds, and you can eat them before bed. You shouldn't be eating anything before bed, but uh, they have several things in them. So if you get really hungry right before bed, maybe a couple of almonds help you sleep. And of course, we've mentioned broccoli so many times. Broccoli
Hmm.
sprouts is probably one of the top two foods that you can eat, and it's good for your blood sugar also. Cabbage, lentils, and my favorite,
That's right.
popcorn.
That's right. And by the way, folks, the movie is sold separately.
That's right. Yeah.
And the
So,
beautiful thing about popcorn, Dennis, and I'll let you finish up there, is the fact that you can make darn near any flavor that you want
right.
at the time of popping because it
Yes,
becomes infused with those flavors, whatever they may be.
exactly. And one of the best things you can do uh, for your body is to intake cayenne pepper. And how you going to do that? Well, you can put it on your food. It makes it flavorful. I like to put it on the popcorn. It gives it a little bit of a kick.
Mm,
So you use Celtic salt and just a little bit. You don't want to put too much, but a little bit of cayenne pepper is
yep.
very healthy. But again, it's better not to snack at all.
Yeah.
But if you're going to, if you just have to, then popcorn is a good way to go.
Absolutely.
So,
Hey, I'll tell you what, we're going to continue with this list, but first, I want to remind people we've already mentioned the one website they want to go to, which is bodyofhealth.life, where whatever you order on that website, put into that coupon or discount field radio. That's radio, RADIO, and you'll get 20% off. That's bodyofhealth.life. I just looked. Matter of fact, I went to Body of Health, and guess what popped up, ladies and gentlemen? It popped up this little piece for the rebounder, and I hope that you folks will look into that as well. Don't forget about DennisJHenson.com, which will also take you to bodyofhealth.life. You click on that health tab on DennisJHenson.com. It'll take you to all these different places like the Facebook group page called Body of Health, where you can communicate with others who are trying to optimize their health and well-being. We hope that you'll do that. We also hope that you will scroll down on that same page, which is, of course, the health tab on DennisJHenson.com, and you'll find all kinds of information that we have been talking about on this program throughout the weeks of this program, including today's program, and this list of things that we're going to continue as we continue here with yours truly, Reverend Dr. D, Dennis J. Henson, and Body of Health on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D and Dennis J. Henson, not doctors, ladies and gentlemen. Check with your primary care physician. Give that little disclaimer there. But we were in the midst of a list of things. We just finished with that wonderful snack called popcorn, any flavor that you want. And we're going to move on now to something that a lot of people, they've heard about it, but, it's something that we need to repeat regularly, having to do with using roughage as a barrier. I've never used roughage as a wall before, Dennis.
well, I'm always looking for ways to live longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that the sauna, if you do sauna 4 times a week, and anything that mentions longevity, I'll grab it, study it. So a couple of months ago, I saw something that said people who eat more roughage, it's also known as bulk. It has several names.
Mm-hmm.
Live 20% longer. And I thought, man, that's fantastic. And since I like popcorn anyway, I found out, you know, the there's a recommended dosage for everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a minimum daily requirement. Well, that
Okay.
should tell you something. It's the minimum. You should be looking for, the medium or the maximum. You want to try to get as much as you can to
Right.
get the best effect out of it. So what does roughage do? It creates a microscopic mesh in your stomach, which traps the carbohydrates and starches in your small intestine, slows enzymes, and that it slows them turning the food into glucose, and it forces a metered release rather than a sudden flood. So it prevents insulin spikes. So roughage is really, really important. It always I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and you might want to differentiate that. We're not talking about creating a situation where you are constipated. That is not what we're
No,
talking about. This is
no,
talking about a barrier that does just the things that you just talked about.
exactly. My wife, I like to eat chocolate after or with every meal because it's if it's not the very best food for you, it's very close. Uh, and of course, it's without sugar. But my wife makes oatmeal chocolate muffins, and she puts nuts in those.
I bet
And
you walnuts.
yes, walnuts. And then I melt chocolate over the top of those and eat that because it has oatmeal that's got lots of fiber and lots
Mhm.
of roughage. And it's so good
Yeah.
for you. And I'll put the recipe, I have a new section on Body of Health called Foods. So if you go there, there's all kinds of recipes and plans and so forth. There's recipes for chocolate pie, chocolate pudding, chocolate ice cream, every kind of chocolate that you can imagine. But I don't have that muffin recipe up, and I need to put that up. So I'm glad we're mentioning that. So to kind of bring this part to an end, fiber is really important. If you can take it at the beginning of the meal rather than during and end, your meal will serve you a lot better and you'll live a lot longer. So what more could you say?
Yeah. It sounds to me like a very valuable thing to consider in terms of that. And I'm sitting here thinking that there's a certain element here that I have kind of discovered on my own, whether it's talking about blood pressure or blood sugar, which again, with the limited knowledge I have in that regard of the biochemical aspects of the human body, those are at least two items that fluctuate throughout your day. All right. They're going to change because your activity changes, what you're eating changes, all those different things. Right.
Mhm.
Well, of course, your heart rate, obviously, that's going to change if you're exercising or have you. But there are so many other metabolic conditions that can be tested for when let's say they do your blood work. They do the test for like A1C, and that goes back 3 months. That's how they determine what your A1C is. And that's
Mhm.
just obviously taking an average of all of the results and so forth. And so when I take my blood pressure and blood sugar, when I do those tests to see where they are, I don't get overly concerned when they go up and down. And I'm not talking spikes like, okay, yesterday it was, or you can say this morning it was 125. And then I go in the afternoon and I did this, that, or the other thing. And now it's 199 or something like that. And then I check it later in the evening and it's back down around 135, 140. I'm sitting here going, well, if I take it at the wrong time, the blood sugar test, it's going to spike
Mhm.
because the body is still processing. It's like you got to do it. I think like within first 2 hours. Again, I'm not 100% certain, but it's like in the first 2 hours after you've eaten something. Otherwise, you're going to get a spike after 2 hours because that's when the stuff is now coursing through your veins. So I found that interesting. And you talked again about your minimums, your maximums, and your medium in terms of intake of different items.
Yes.
And I've even thought about that in terms of some of the numbers that we get as far as your blood pressure or blood sugar. There are the statistical norms, the high and the low, but then there's the individual high and low. Now, I did hear this also, Dennis, and then we'll continue on here. I did hear this that in the 70s, the normal blood sugar level, glucose level in the body, the number was at least 100 points higher as the norm than it is today. And it might have even been higher than that. And I'm thinking, really? You mean it used to be okay to be at 220? Well, but back in the 70s, our diets were so much different. And that's really, I think, what makes the difference, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, Over the years, the way that food is grown and taken care of, the food has a lot less of the good things, the vitamins and minerals than it had than our ancestors had because they're reusing the same soil over and over again. They're putting pesticides. I mean, it's quite different.
Hmm.
So how you choose the food that you put in your system is very important. And well, how do you decide? Well, it's a life study.
Yeah.
You always should be reading, you always should be listening to different doctors and people who have experienced problems and
Hmm.
take their advice to heart so that when you shop, you're getting the very best possible food that you can put in your body for not just insulin resistance, but for every possible health reason.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of these things that we're getting into here in terms of other things to add to one's diet: high protein, high quality protein, and healthy fats.
Absolutely. Well, wait. Okay, we need to cut here because I don't know. We skipped the drinks, I think.
Well, no, we were right at the roughage as a barrier. We were talking about that,
Okay.
and then we move on from there to
Okay.
preventing insulin
Okay.
spikes and so forth.
I'm sorry. I'm the one that skipped ahead. So,
That's all right. That's all right. So let's do this one more time. I'm just going to let you start because I've already introduced it. In
okay.
3, 2, 1.
Yes, you should always include high quality protein and healthy fats in your diet. They make you feel full and overall, and so that you don't eat too much. It reduces the glucose spikes caused by your meal, and space your carbohydrates evenly throughout your meal. Although we mentioned earlier, snacks are not recommended. If you do have to snack, then popcorn's probably the best choice. And if you mix in a little cayenne pepper, that'll be good also.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that meets the sequencing of it's a total game changer, and that's something I have heard about. And not just sequencing, Dennis. I remember my nutritionist through my doctor when I was first diagnosed talked about um, uh, um, portions. In other words, first of all, you might be eating too much of one thing. I love baked potatoes, and I'll take one of those giant ones and I'll bake it and I'll cut it open and I'll slather everything in there. Well, that might be a little too much, but then there's the other thing too, is you divide your plate so that you have all of these different elements on it that we're talking about, maybe not all of them, but many of them, so that you are getting all of the balanced nutrients. But then there's what we've just been talking about, this sequencing. In other words, eating,
Right,
for example, I would think you'd want to eat the roughage first
right.
before anything else at a meal so that you create that wall, that barrier that will prevent the spikes and so forth. So what about what about something that we can drink? I know at the very first program we talked about that fountain of youth drink. Are there any natural toxic tonics, I should say, or beverages that can help prime the body before we even take that first bite?
Yes, this fits right into what we're talking about, where you wanted to have a big baked potato.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, the drink we're about to talk about is to be drunk a few minutes before you eat, and then you're going to do your roughage first, and then you eat your baked potato, and then afterwards you're going to do some exercise. So we've just solved the problem. Now you can have your baked potato and not worry about it causing problems with blood a glucose spike. So let's talk about that drink. A powerful drink that you can put together. I call it the glucose shield. You mix cinnamon and turmeric. Now, anytime you hear the word turmeric, you're always going to put some black pepper, because the black pepper is going to increase the value of the turmeric about 2,000%. So even in this drink, you're going to add a little bit of turmeric and a sprig of rosemary. So how will we make this? I'm going to start with 12 ounces of warm water, mix in the turmeric and the cinnamon, put in a sprig of rosemary, and then a sprinkle of black pepper. Drink this about 20 minutes before your meal, or 15 or 10, just sometime before the meal. Give it time to settle a little bit, and then sit down and enjoy your meal using the formula, the structure we talked about, eating your fiber first, or getting some fiber in your body first. And then after your meal, have a planned exercise, and you're going to do very well. Now, there's one other drink that you might want to consider, which takes all of this stuff into account and then adds a lot more to it. The Fountain of Youth drink is one that I created after my stroke to be able to bring my body back to health. Because as I listened and I read, I kept hearing all of these things mentioned over and over and over again. I thought, well, what if you just put them all together? How would that work? I wonder how powerful that would be. And so I created the drink that I call the Fountain of Youth drink, and you can get it for free if you just go to bodyofhealth.life, and it's under the recipes. It's also under the food section. So it's in two sections. It's easy to find.
Absolutely.
But it's very powerful, and I think that even if you don't have health problems, drinking this will avoid health problems in the future.
Well, we hope people will look into that drink. It was interesting when we did that very first program to talk about that drink, and the ingredients are readable. As a matter of fact, my wife and I went to the hardware store, the garden section, and just bought a rosemary plant, so we can actually use fresh rosemary for this drink, and that'll be really good too. And we're growing it ourselves. That's the other thing too, is if you can't find it at bodyofhealth.life, which you probably can, or you just want to have your own little garden and grow some of this stuff yourself, you're going to know where it's coming from and what you put into it and so forth. And that's always a peace of mind as well. And I know people are looking for that. Also, peace of mind can come by continuing to listen to Body of Health here on Tell Me Your Story with yours truly, Reverend Dr. D and Dennis Henson, as we continue bringing you new paradigms for a new world. I am Reverend Dr. D. He is Dennis Henson, and we're going to move into another section here that I'm looking forward to, using the spice cabinet as a medicine defense. There's that, what is that phrase? We're taking our medicine as if it was food, and we need to be eating our food as if it was medicine. So that makes total sense to me. And of course, you want to be balancing with what I mentioned earlier, the plate balances for balancing your blood sugar. So let's let's move beyond the kitchen, okay, and get into some specific exercises because you mentioned it's kind of like three things. If you have something to drink before the meal, then you have the meal with all the good stuff in it, and then you get up and wait a little bit for some digestion to go on, and then get into some exercise so that you won't have those spikes. You're going to be utilizing the fuel that you've just put into your body, and we often like to take some extra steps. What are some of the things that we can do? I could mention it, but I'm going to let you because you've actually already mentioned one of them that they can look into at bodyofhealth.life.
Well, if sometimes you're going to crave something that has sugar in it. You
Mm-hmm.
just can't resist it. Maybe it's ice cream, or maybe you go to a restaurant, they just have some kind of a dessert that you just can't resist, and you go ahead and take advantage of that. And you get this terrible feeling. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but when I eat sugar, I know I've had too much sugar. I can feel it. I can just think, oh, this is an awful feeling. I really need to do something to relieve myself of the sugar. And there's something you can do. I found it and it works perfectly every time. And that is standing flat on the floor and lifting your heels up as high as they will go. And doing that 100 times. Your solar plexus, your muscles in your lower body literally pump the sugar out of your body. So you can do deep squats, but those are hard to do. Those are hard to do.
Yeah.
But the little toe raises are so simple.
Mm.
So you grab a chair or grab a table or the aisle in your kitchen, just grab a hold of something and you just start raising up on your toes. And you do that 100 times and you think that may be hard. It's not hard. You just do 10 times. And after that, you'll feel great. You'll feel like, well, I don't have that sugar problem anymore. Now, if you want to do it faster, then just do 25 squats.
Mm.
Those are great for you, and they do the same thing. You don't have to do as many, but it's a lot harder, especially as you get a little bit older. So that's really something you need to remember and something you can do every day. You can also use a rebounder. Now, rebounder is not just good for the sugar, it's good for everything because it helps the lymphatic fluid throughout your body move, and that's your body's sewer system. And if you're not doing something to move every single day, all of the toxins and things back up in your lymphatic and glymphatic fluid, which is the fluid in your head, that builds up and it causes terrible things like cancer. It causes heart attack, stroke, functional. I can't think of the name. It's when you can't think anymore.
A little brain fog, so to speak.
Yeah. So anyway, that little rebounder will do a lot of things for you, and one of the main things is it helps pump the sugar out.
It makes me think of a jar that I put in the refrigerator with different ingredients in it. And I leave it in there for, I don't know, maybe a week to 10 days. And I come back and,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know, the oil's gone to the top and solidified. And then there's another layer of something else and another layer of something else. And I take it out. I let it get to room temperature. And then before I even do anything with the lid, I shake it up. I shake it up to mix all that stuff together. Well, in this case, we're not trying to mix it all together per se. We're trying to get it to move, through the system. I learned that, for example, the eye itself has a system to where it's supposed to pass the fluid through the eye. Okay. And of course, what happens is, of course, if someone has too much calcium, they can build up calcium or protein too much. They can build up cataracts. That's what I had as a kid growing up. And so what they used to do years ago, now they use lasers to bust up that stuff, make it smaller so that it'll pass through the membrane of the eye. They used to do what was called needling, where they'd put a needle in there and stir it up and try to break them up. But that's kind of what we're talking about here, is to get this stuff moving into the circulation of the body, whether it's the blood, the lymphatic system, etc., to keep things going. What else have we got on the table here as far as some of these things that we can do to help to keep the sugar, shall we say, keep it moving so it doesn't get stuck, and we don't end up having what they call that insulin resistance. Where else are we moving into following what you just talked about?
Okay, let's pause for just a second and tell me where you are on the script. I'm lost.
Hang on.
By committing to daily movement, let's say aim for a minimum of 5 to 8,000 steps every day, you keep your metabolism processing the glucose. So a great thing to do would be get one of these steps apps that you can put on your phone. They're free.
Mm-hmm.
And it lets you track not only your daily steps, but how many steps you took for the week, for the month, for the year. I have a streak of 3 years in a row where I've reached my daily goal. And you can set your daily goal wherever you want to. You can set it at 5,000, 10,000, 15, whatever, how many ever steps that feels right to you. I would say, regardless of your age or your health, you should strive for 5,000 steps a day. If you can walk at all, that would be something really good. People who live to be over 100, most of them have committed to a number of steps, and they keep their activity consistent. Now, some days you can't walk. So there's some days when there's ice on the ground. I know here in Texas, probably a couple of times a year, we have a snowstorm which turns into ice, and you can't walk to the mailbox without falling down. It's just a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
So on those days, you can go to the rebounder, and your step app still thinks you're walking. So I would really highly suggest you get one of those apps. Commit to 5,000. Now, a more healthy number is 8,500. That's about 3.5 miles a day. The step 5,000 is about 2 miles. So even if it's hot or cold, that heat's good for you. The sunshine on your body is really good for you. The cold weather's good for you. If you can walk in the woods, the smell's good for you. Another thing you can do is lift weights. If you can lift weights 2 or 3 times, especially if you're getting older, keeping those muscles activated is good for longevity, and it keeps your glucose in check. So every single day, walk a couple of times a week, exercise with weights. And those things will go a long way in keeping your blood sugar even.
Mm. Well, Dennis, what if someone's already overindulged, I should say, it's Thanksgiving dinner. Now, as a kid, I used to go back for seconds, and both plates were pretty darn full. So let's say that's the situation. Maybe they had a little dessert, a little pie, a little ice cream, what have you, and like, okay, I know sugar spice coming. If it's not the L-tryptophan coma, it's going to be the sugar high. Is there any like emergency trick that we can do to help to immediately bring that sugar down?
Yes. It's the one that we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's standing on your tiptoes 100 times or doing deep squats 25 times. And Richard, it's amazing when you get that feeling of, oh my God, if I had too much sugar, I know this is not going to be good. It causes problems with your skin. It causes you not to be able to sleep. It could literally cause a heart attack or a stroke when it's really simple to take care of that just by walking over, holding on to something stable, and lifting your feet. Now, if you have a hard time standing, you can do this while you're seated. You can do this at the dinner table, just raising your feet up. But it does so much more if you have the weight of you standing.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't, though, I mean, some people can't stand up, but you can still do the toe raises, which will help. You probably are going to need to do a lot more than just 100. And I do them pretty much every day because I like the way it makes my legs feel. My lower legs. It exercises those calf muscles and makes them feel a lot better. So anyway, if you get that feeling I've had too much sugar or you've eaten some sugar, doing that exercise is going to relieve all the problems that you would have had you not done the exercise.
Well, what's interesting too, Dennis, is that the lifestyle habits that we take on have a huge effect. And there's some that sort of fly under the radar. And we're talking, of course, about getting sufficient. And I'm not going to say water, I'm going to say hydration, because I
Mhm.
think there's a difference between just drinking a glass of water and making sure that you are hydrated. We've talked about getting enough sleep and also stress and tension in the day that can affect our metabolic health. I'm frustrated with my primary care physician back in Santa Barbara, who would not believe me when I told him that I've done nothing. I've made no real significant changes in my lifestyle other than there's a whole lot more stress in my life. And he would not believe me when the research I had done told me that stress can affect your insulin resistance. So how important are these factors?
Well, getting enough hydration and enough sleep are critical. I mean, to every system in your body. I mean, our body is pretty much a battery, and you need the hydration. Now, to get it to get your body fully hydrated, it's important to add sea salt or Celtic salt or the pink salt, um, Himalayan salt. If you just put a pinch of those under your tongue before you drink some warm water, you'll hydrate much, much faster, and it'll do you so much better. Some people say, well, you need to take your body weight and divide it by two and drink that much. Well, there's several things that are not good about that. First of all, it's not pleasant to try to drink 64
Yeah.
64 ounces of water every day when you can just put some salt under your tongue and drink 8 ounces a couple of times a day, and you're going to be hydrated because it's going to multiply the hydration and also give you a lot of minerals that you wouldn't have gotten had you not done it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talked about last week, sleep is also very important. It's important to everything about your body because your body needs to be able to rest and relax and rejuvenate. As we mentioned last week, some people think, oh, I wake up at 2 o'clock and I can't get back to sleep, and that's terrible. And they worry about that, which causes more stress. What they need to understand is for thousands of years, people slept twice every night. It was normal. They'd
Mm-hmm.
sleep 4 or 5 hours, they'd get up, they would read or do something else and go back to sleep 3, 4 hours, and end up with 7 to 9 hours of sleep. The key is that you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and it doesn't matter if they're broken up. What matters is the quality of sleep that you get when you are asleep. So if you wake up in the middle of the night, don't look at your phone. Don't turn on the TV. Read a book or just relax.
Yeah.
Some people don't understand that laying in the bed and relaxing is about 20% as good as getting sleep.
Yeah.
So maybe when you wake up in the middle of the night, just lay there and enjoy relaxing in the bed, or have a book, maybe Choices or Real Impact Daily Inspiration laying beside your bed. Have a soft lamp so it's not creating a lot of light, and read a couple of short stories or some poems or some quotes, or read a chapter in Richard's book. And then you'll start feeling drowsy again, lay the book down, go back to sleep, wake up in the morning and feel refreshed.
Absolutely.
So those two things are critical. Sleep and hydration, and they have a lot to do with your how your blood spikes and does not spike, how it stables.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you, as we wrap up here, it was a combination of things that maybe have elevated your blood sugar, and I can attest to that. And it's going to be a combination of things that's going to help to lower it, get it back to normal. And you want to consult your physician to make sure you're doing the right things, because that might require, and I'm hoping this is short term, might require some medication. But in the meantime, do these things, and it is not going to hurt you. Okay, Dennis, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention and breaking this all down so that we have a clearer picture of the direction that we need to take our lifestyle in, because that's really what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, it's my pleasure, Richard, and want to remind everybody, we mentioned a lot of things, and you probably will have forgotten them in 20 minutes, but we've turned them all into an article and put it on the bodyofhealth.live so that you can go back and review everything we said and make it a part of your life. And we really appreciate you being here. I hope that we'll see you again next week.
Hope so. And we will be here on Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to all. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy. And happy Father's Day as well to all the fathers out there, as well as Mike. Thanks for letting me be in your life. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. My brother, dear brother, welcome to fatherhood. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.